my car got stolen. I'm getting off of the bus behind my apartment building and I get robbed. Sorry, y'all. I can't lose when I'm with you. Hey, y'all. So this video is probably gonna get a little bit candid, and I just want to let y'all know to be prepared, because the topic of conversation is a bit emotional for me. And so if you have tissue nearby, grab the tissues, because it's about to get real vulnerable in this video. So if you have to go get your tissues, go grab them and come back. Let's get into it. All right, y'all. So a lot of people don't really know me. So if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Carly. If you're a returning subscriber, hey y'all, how y'all doing? Thank you so much for watching this video. And I'm gonna assume that everybody wants to know, like, the real reason behind, you know, why I had to move home. And so sorry, y'all have to forgive me, because talking about this part of my life is pretty hard to do. It really brings back a lot of the old emotions that I had and the old feelings that I had. And so I like to think that I've done a really good job at moving forward with my life. And sometimes the past just keeps coming back to haunt you. And in my case, that's exactly what's happening. So I guess I'll go ahead and start by taking y'all back a bit to where my adult life, began. So for me, my adult life, of course, it began when I moved out. I moved out of my mom's apartment 2006. I believe I was 17 turning 18. And I went to college in Florida. And at the time, me and my mom were actually living in New Jersey. So I moved from Jersey to live in Florida by myself. Had no family, no friends, nobody in Florida. I've literally just always been the type of person that can kind of just go anywhere and be adaptable. We moved around a lot during my childhood. So, hold on, y'all. We moved around a lot during my childhood. And so me being adaptable was something that I was already accustomed to. And so the way that I saw it, moving to Florida was like a no-brainer. It was a perfect situation. And I was really excited about getting to go to school. So I did it, and I left. And I left home. I left everything I knew and moved to Florida. And if you're already kind of like putting pieces together of the puzzle, you already are kind of like sensing, yeah, there's a lot that could go wrong. And a lot did go wrong. But there were also some good things that did happen, you know, but for the most part, a lot went wrong. So my freshman year, you know, everything was good. I actually lived on campus freshman year and didn't have any problems, actually. Freshman year was pretty good. The only thing that I could say that I didn't really quite like or enjoy was the fact that I had a roommate who was pretty promiscuous, and she would have like different people in our our dorm room, and they would do things that I just didn't condone overall. And so I kind of got the feeling that I did not like having roommates, or if I did have a roommate, we'd have to have everything separate, like separate bathroom, separate room, a door, the normal things, right? So after freshman year, I kind of got the feel for how it was going to be with roommates. Sophomore year, same thing. I actually got lucky sophomore year because I didn't have any roommates. Actually, all of my roommates went and lived off campus. So I had pretty much had a 1-bedroom apartment to myself. So I got lucky. And then junior year, I thought I was hot sugar honey iced tea. And I talked to my mom about, me possibly moving out of the dorms, staying off campus to save some money because that tuition there is quite expensive. And so if I could stay off campus, pay my own rent, then my tuition would go down to half the price. So I did that. And actually, I thought it was going to be a really good thing because I was working at the time. I actually scored a job at Burger King and was working there for quite some time. And I had already made it to an assistant manager position. So I thought I thought I was living the life, Rent was only like what? I want to say rent was about $700 back then. Rent was cheap, so with my little Burger King checks, I was making the cut, and it was just fine. I was able to do it on my own for a little while. But then I don't know what happened, but okay, I should tell you the reason why I was able to pay my rent and live good. My mom was actually paying me with half of the rent. So every month, when it was time to pay the rent, my mom would give me half and then I would comp the rest of it. And we were able to pay my rent together, no problem. Everything was perfect. But then my mom, she was in a relationship with this guy and he didn't have papers. He's from Jamaica. And so what ended up happening was he got arrested, and she, in their home where they were living, she was actually living with him and wasn't paying rent. And that's how she was able to, 1, put me through school, and 2, help me with half of my rent. And so because he was the one paying all the bills, she got put out of the apartment that she was in because he got deported. And yeah, it was a really bad situation for her. And my mother went through it. She had to go sleep on people's couches, live with other people, because she couldn't afford to pay her rent and help me through college and paying my rent. So she ended up having to leave her apartment and kind of couch surfed it for a little while. And till this day, I cannot thank my mom enough for what she did for me. And, when she came to me and talked to me about how she wasn't going to be able to help me going forward, I understood, and I did the very best that I could to be able to help her out with what I could and still try to hold what I could for myself to be able to pay my rent. But at this time I want to say 20. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I let fear run me a lot. And so I used to let fear run me a lot, I should say that. And so what ended up happening was I couldn't do things to be able to pay my rent outside of working at Burger King. I didn't know about, all these other extra sources or ways that you can get money. I was really timid and scared kind of person. And so I just overall wasn't paying attention to other ways that you could make money at that time. And so my checks at Burger King weren't enough to be able to cover my rent. But what I did was I tried my best at saving. I had no idea how to save. Zero, zilch, no idea how to save. And so I literally just I found myself in a bind and I couldn't, afford to pay all of my rent. And so I actually had a coworker at Burger King who was in need of an apartment. And she approached me and asked me, could she move in with me and we split the rent 50-50 so that way she could have a place to live and I have help with the rent. And like I said, I was 20 at the time, or maybe 18. I don't know, 2019, I can't remember. But yeah, so I decided to let her stay with me. Didn't do no background check on this girl. Didn't really know this girl. I mean, we've hung out outside of work a couple of times, but I can't really sit here and say that I knew the girl very well. And so everything that you think could have happened. As soon as she moved in with me, I want to say maybe a week into it, I was letting her use my car from time to time because she didn't have one. And while she had my car in her possession, my car got stolen. And then 2 nights after my car got stolen, I'm getting off of the bus behind my apartment building and I get robbed. Yeah. Mind you, that very day, I actually was at the bank because I needed to get money to pay the rent for that week. Mind you, she didn't give me any of the money to pay that rent. That was the money that I had worked for that was in my account that I was going to use to go ahead and pay the rent. Why was I walking around with that much cash on me? I don't know. But it was something around, like, I want to say $700. And that was all the money that I had to be able to pay my rent. I got robbed. I tried so hard to run after those people. I don't know what I was thinking. I really don't know. Like, till this day, like, that scenario, that whole situation, it just plays over and over and over in my mind. And it's just like, what could I have done differently? Why did that happen to me? Like, it's just so much regret around, like, everything that happened there. I don't know. But and then she moved out. After she moved out, I just couldn't quite catch up with the rent. I couldn't quite pay that rent. And I literally was trying to, make up for the money. It sucks when you get paid every 2 weeks because you're trying to pay rent, of course, and you're not getting this money that you need to be able to make your rent payments. So I didn't know what to do. And I didn't want to tell my mom because I was embarrassed. I didn't want to talk to my family about this because of the shame that followed. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I literally just tried to do what I could to be able to cover my rent the best that I could, and I could never quite catch up. So I got evicted. Yep, that's me. I got evicted. This is the very first time I had ever been involved in an eviction. I had never seen something like this that happened to me before in my life. Even my mom being a single mom, she never let something like that happen. And so for me to have that happen to me, it was just, I still haven't processed. And it's been years. I still haven't processed. It's something different when you see all of your belongings, your personal possessions being dragged out of your home and placed onto Front Street, literally, for people to just like look at you and point at you, and it makes you feel so low. I cannot even like explain to you how I felt. And because I was going through it alone, I had nobody to talk to about it. I literally just kind of like sulked. I sulked in everything that was happening to me. I did have one friend that I knew I could call, and I don't even know where he is to this day. I haven't, seen him. He was dealing with his own issues and he had a problem. And so I knew I could call him. And that's exactly what I did. I called him and his girlfriend. They let me actually come and stay with them. They helped me with getting a U-Haul, and they put my furniture on the U-Haul. I didn't have to do anything, pretty much. God sent at that moment in my life, and he really stepped up and helped me. He was also a coworker too, but we had got really close, and he was a really great friend to me. And they let me stay with them for a little while until I was able to get back on my feet. I was able to scrounge up a couple $100 to be able to get an efficiency. I actually had to call my dad, and so I called him up and asked him if he can help me out with some money. And so he sent me, I think it was like $1,000 or something like that, to be able to, move. And all of these things I could have probably done before the eviction, but I was ashamed. I didn't know that I could even do that. I hadn't really lived on my own, and so doing these things, I never thought I had to. My mom would always do this stuff for me. You know what I mean? And so I didn't know that I could do that. So when I called my dad, I did have to let him know that, yeah, I got evicted, and, these things are happening. And he sent me some money. He sent me money right away. So I was able to go ahead and get a little efficiency apartment. Like, I don't know if y'all know what efficiencies are, but they're like a little room or apartment off the side of someone's home. So I had a little 1-bedroom efficiency. It's like a studio apartment inside of someone's house. The only problem with this efficiency is just I never quite felt comfortable there. Like the shower just, I don't know. It was just not very clean, or to a normal person's standards. It just wasn't very homey. So I didn't want to stay there. I literally just needed it till I could get back on my feet. So, I stayed at the efficiency. I want to say maybe 6 months. It could be about 6 to 7 months. I'm not really sure. But, a friend of mine, and she's still my friend to this day, she actually let me come in and stay with her at her friend's house. It was like a dorm, not a dorm. It was like a townhouse apartment that they had. And in this townhouse, it was like, 3 bedrooms? Yeah, it was 3 bedrooms. And one of their roommates were leaving out. And so she needed to fill his spot in the apartment. So I was like, yeah, of course, I'll take it. It was a really nice space, very nice, much nicer than my little efficiency apartment. And so of course I jumped at the chance to go. I even left my furniture because it was such a nice house and a great opportunity. I could save more money than I had been saving before, because the rent was only going to be like $500 or $600 versus the studio, which was like, I think $775, just like the apartment. So of course I went, no brainer. Bad idea. Very bad idea, actually. Oof. So can I even go into detail? Yeah, I'll just go into detail. What ended up happening was the roommate that left and I took over their spot. That roommate actually got arrested. He didn't leave voluntarily. He got arrested, and he was facing some really hard jail time. He got caught for something. I don't want to tell his business. That's his story to tell. But he wasn't communicating with the owner of the home, and neither of us was. She actually let me know, like, stop paying, save your money, and do what you gotta do. But it came to a point where that whole situation just came to an end too. We all got evicted out of that place. And literally, I didn't know that this was happening, but I was at work one day and I get a call saying, you should come home right now. Come home right now. And I get there and there's these guys pulling all of the furniture, pulling all of the TVs, pulling everything out of the house. And I'm just like, I have my personal possessions in there. Like, I need to go in there. And he's like, you got 2 minutes to go in here and get your stuff. And I'm like, 2 minutes, that's nothing. I gotta get my dogs. My dogs were in there, like everything. It was so bad. It was so bad. They sent my dogs to the pound. I never seen my dogs again. I was able to just grab my social security card and my birth certificate. That was it. All my clothes, everything that I owned at that point. Everything. And I mean everything. My dogs, I don't even know what happened to them. I just know that they sent them to the pound and that they were at least taken care of at the pound. And so I didn't stress, but I had nowhere to go. I literally had nothing. And that's at least when I got evicted the first time, at least they gave me the opportunity to get my furniture. You know, I was able to put it all on the U-Haul and, you know, I was able to still have some possessions that I had in this world. But at that eviction, I was left with nothing, just the clothes on my back. My mom still doesn't know. Well, she probably knows now because she watches my videos. Hi, Mom. Yeah, y'all. It got real. It got real. So, oh man. I just remember how I felt. I just remember how low I felt. Like, I thought I felt low the first eviction. No, this eviction took the cake. I was just standing there outside of the house, like, looking from side to side, like, what should I do? The only one thing that I had that was a constant in my life was my job at Burger King. And that one thing was the one thing that I held on to. Thank goodness for that job that I had at Burger King. Because if it wasn't for that, I had no idea what I'd do. So while I was standing there outside of the house, I went through my contacts list because, like I said before, I had a friend who helped me out in the bind, but he had problems of his own. So, I knew I couldn't really call him all the time for something, for help, because, like, I put myself in this position. So, you know, so I just was looking through my call list of people that I could call, and I remember this one friend that my friend and I had. I called him up and he was like, Carly, come here. Like, just come to the house. You could stay here. You could sleep on the couch until you can find yourself a place to stay. And man, I just broke down crying. That was hard. That was really hard. Sorry, y'all. Just a second. Because I remember exactly how I felt. Whew. I'm trying to fight these tears, y'all. I did not want to have to get this vulnerable. But it was the most embarrassing thing. But at the end of the day, I was grateful for the friends that I made. Such a life lesson learned. I told y'all to get y'all tissues and I didn't even get none. I'll be all right. Man. But when I tell y'all that call was just like my saving grace. That call that I made, it was my saving grace. And I got to his house and he just welcomed me with open arms. Adulting is hard. And if you send your child out into the world and they don't really know how to survive on their own, Just be there for them. That's it. That's it. Just be close. Just be there. Because we all have to learn this lesson. We all have to go out into the real world. And we have to learn these things. Not quite like how I had to learn it. But we do have to learn it. Oh, man. I'm trying not to cry, y'all. I'm holding them back. Never wanted to cry on cam. Never wanted to be that person. Yeah. So, and being out, I never felt like I didn't belong. He made me feel very comfortable. I had everything that I needed. I didn't really need for anything. And he didn't ask me for a dime. Literally every single check that I made, I held on to it for dear life. I held on to them for dear life in my account. Did not spend a dime because I wanted to be able to have something for myself, but I wanted to be able to give back to him for his hospitality and all of the things that he helped me with. Man, life's hard. Life's very hard. And I don't take any of it for granted. That's for sure. So with help, I was able to save up enough for an apartment. And in South Miami, I was able to move in. My rent was, I want to say it was like I think this rent was $725 too, $775 or maybe $800. I can't remember. Sheesh. But it was not that expensive still. But I moved in, didn't have any furniture, didn't have anything, still just had the clothes on my back, And so all I had was my work clothes. That's all I had. My boss was, nice enough to give me a couple extra work shirts. And I did go to Ross and buy some work pants so that, I could wash them. Wouldn't, be going to work smelling all crazy because you work at Burger King. So you going to come home smelling crazy every day. But I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah. So I didn't really have any furniture for a while. I just had a roof over my head. I went and got me an air mattress, and that was all I needed. Literally, that was it. And I think I remember at one point trying to, and all this time I was still in school, mind you, still in college. I didn't stop going to school. It was getting tough because they were asking for money, but I still was able to go. I had no problem. I think my mom was still paying. Yeah, my mom was still paying the tuition and also got a free ride because of my grades. My grades were still really good. So I was able to go to college for I think a semester or two without paying. And I also had, student loans and all of that other stuff. So I was able to still go to school, and that was the only great thing. But yeah, so I remember living at that apartment and not having any furniture, and then remembering that the rent was pretty expensive. And so I talked with the landlord, and actually they moved me to a less expensive apartment, and it was smaller. It was like a studio, but it was within my means, and they were only going to charge me $725, and I'm not $725, $625 in rent. And I say that because they went up on the rent the very next year that I was living there just to kind of get me out. And I think that's what it was, because I was late on my rent a lot. I didn't pay bills on time. And that was another problem that I had. I was irresponsible as heck. I did not have those type of life lessons to be able to pay things on time. And, my credit was already bad. And it was just one mess up after the other. That's what my life in college was like. And so thinking about all of these things and how my life was pretty much built, it just lets you know, it kind of sets the tone for my life as an adult. I was still making a lot of these crazy ass decisions while living in Florida. And eventually life just caught up with me. I was I don't know, but they ended up going up on the rent. the very next year, and it was a price that I couldn't afford. So I ended up shopping around to see if I could find another apartment that, the rent was more affordable for, and I found one in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And the rent there was $775 at the time I moved in. It was $775, and that I was able to pay because I was still, again, working at Burger King, and I actually had a card then. I was able to buy a car from somebody that I worked with at Burger King. They took 2 payments, and I paid them half when I got my income tax, and then I paid, the rest in payments. So I was able to get a car, and life was looking up. Life was looking up. And so when I moved to Fort Lauderdale, I remember that the apartment that I was living in, it was really quiet. I didn't have furniture. All I was able to afford myself at this time was a bed. I was able to get a bed and, try to pay my rent and try to pay the car note that I now had. And it was just a lot of bad decisions. I've made a lot of bad decisions. I'll say that. Just one bad decision after the next. And so I ended up getting a second job at Ross. Tried to work both Burger King and Ross at the same time. But unfortunately, it became too much. And I let go of one of the constants in my life, and that was Burger King. I had to because the hours just were not feasible. They wanted me to work overnight, and I just could not do it while working at Ross. So I had to choose. I don't know why I didn't choose Burger King to stay there, but I ended up choosing Ross. Bad decision. Because I chose Ross, I took a pay cut. A huge pay cut. Like, I'm talking, I think it was like, I want to say $1,000 less a month. So yeah, that just lets you know how I was not able to afford rent and buy myself food at the same time and help to, fund my tuition, because at this time I was now having to pay my tuition by myself. So you know what happened next? Your girl got evicted again. Are y'all getting tired of these evictions? Because I know I am. I'm tired of them. I don't want not a single another eviction in my life. That eviction, though, it didn't hurt worse than that second eviction. That eviction, I kind of had already had somewhere else to stay, and I was already gone by the time the eviction was set up, because I knew it. I smelled it coming. I was prepared. You hear me? I was prepared by then. So, don't mind me, y'all. I'm making light of my situation. But yeah, so by this time I was able to smell it coming, and so I had a plan. I was dating someone at the time, and I told him about the situation, and he was like, yo, you good, come and stay with me. Y'all, I got so lucky in life that I found these people to help me in my times of need. These people were godsends, okay? So yeah, he was like, yo, and we had only been like talking for like, I want to say a month at that time. So I did not know this guy from a can of paint, like barely knew him. But he turned out to be a great person. And so, he let me come in and stay with him. And he was also living with his mom at the time too. And so him and his mom allowed me to come and stay. And actually, I ended up staying with them for about 5 years. So, yeah, I got really lucky with that one. I ended up leaving the job that I had at Ross because it just wasn't paying enough. No offense to Ross, but I couldn't do it no more. I ended up working at this other job. The money was coming in. That job was a really good job because it was based off of commission what is it? Salary and commission. So I was, you know, pretty good at selling and stuff like that. So I was, you know, everything was starting to look up from there. And then I left that job because the account closed and went over to work at another company. Don't really want to go into the information on that one. But that's actually where I met the love of my life, y'all. So things started to really look up from there. I found happiness. But then I also found out that my grandparents weren't doing too well. And so your girl packed up everything and moved out of Florida and went back home to Jersey. I don't know what that was, y'all. But yeah, so I packed up everything and left Florida. I left the guy that I was dating. That relationship wasn't going anywhere anyway. He just, you know, he had proposed to me, but he just wasn't trying to like do anything after that. It was just a proposal. I think it was just for him. I don't know, but the relationship just wasn't something that I could see myself in long term. And so, you know, I went and stayed up north in Jersey. I moved back in with my mom. At this time, my mom had, you know, moved herself back to Jersey, and she had her own 1-bedroom apartment there by this time. And so I ended up staying with her, sleeping on her couch. And then, like I said, the main point of me going back to New Jersey was so that I could spend time with my grandparents, because they just weren't sounding too good on the phones. Whenever I would call, the conversations shifted. They didn't really know too much about what was going on in my life after I had told them over and over and over. And the conversations just started to shift. And so I knew at that point that I should probably go home. I wasn't doing anything in Florida. It was just, you know, it was just time. I just felt like this extreme calling to go back home. And I'm very glad that I did. I'm so glad that I did, because for every year that I lived in Florida, which ended up being 11 years, I got to spend 1 month with my grandmother. My grandmother passed away 11 months after me moving back to New Jersey, and my grandfather passed away 1 year and 11 months after me moving back to New Jersey. It was just something that I felt I needed to do, because I felt it coming. Like, I felt like, you know, something was going to happen and I just had to be there for them. So I'm very glad that I did, because I was able to help them with their transitions. I was there for my grandmother throughout hers. I was there for my grandfather throughout his transition. And had I not gone back, things would have been very different. I don't know who would have been able to take care of the things the way that I took care of them. And so I'm very glad that I stepped up and I was there for them in their times of need. And if you don't know, which you probably don't, I'm I was super close to my grandparents. Practically, they raised me, and I don't know who I would be if it weren't for my grandparents. And so for me, it was the most selfless act that I could take by leaving everything that I had. Already used to leaving things anyway. So it was the most selfless thing that I could do to be there for them. And I know I needed to do that, so I did. And I'd do it again. Love my grandparents. Think about them all the time and everything that I do. They're always with me. That's for sure. So let's keep going. Fast forward to me moving back in with my mom. That was the first time that I've moved back in with my mom. I actually left living with my mom after about a year or so. No, I'm sorry. I left living with my mom after 2 years and moved in with this girlfriend of mine. We were together for about 4 years, and the relationship just didn't work out. We're still very good friends to this day, but the relationship didn't work out. And at this time, my mom actually purchased a house in Florida. Go figure, Florida. I guess it was meant for me to be in Florida. But my mom purchased a house in Florida, and she's just like, Carly, you're not doing anything up there in Jersey now. Your grandparents, they're gone, and there's nothing for you to be up there with. So come on down to Florida to this house and, live with me here. She bought this huge house. This house has 5 bedrooms. I don't know what she was thinking. She just wanted to get some real estate. So, hey, she got her real estate. So this big old 5-bedroom house, me, my mom, and my younger brother, we all live here. And we each kind of have like our own parts of the house. We barely have to see each other if we don't want to. And so this part of my life it's new. It's going to be a great part. But this is the reason why I had to move in with my mom. It was just, my life wasn't really going anywhere in New Jersey. I didn't have anything up there. And honestly speaking, I am very blessed to have my mom. I'm very blessed to have her in my life. And I'm blessed that she is in a situation that she could welcome myself and my younger brother back home at this time in our life. I know that that's not an option for a lot of people in the world. And so I do consider myself very blessed, and I'm grateful, appreciative of this opportunity that I have. And I know that I am not going to let this opportunity go to waste. Now, currently, I'm 35 years old. I know a few life lessons, I could say. I have some things under my belt that allow me to be, all-knowing about certain situations and the decisions that I make. And so moving forward with my life, I know what decisions to make. I may not have the best choices still, but I just know not to make certain choices. So I say this all to say that although, I am an adult now, I still am going to make mistakes, just not going to make the wrong. Well, no, let me not say that because I'm going to make mistakes. We all are, we're human. But I just know that the next decision that I make is going to be a great one. I'm not leaving my mom's house until I am absolutely ready, or it's just the next move for me. I'm in a much better position financially now. I know how to save, I know how to budget, and I know how to spend money wisely. I don't take any of my life lessons for granted. I truly don't. I appreciate every step of my journey. I'm very glad that I've gone through the things that I went through because it's made me me. It has made me me. So that's it, y'all. That's my story. And I'm sticking to it. But yes, y'all, I am really excited that y'all have decided to click on this video and join me in this journey. If you like me, if you like my personality and you want to see more from me, please go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment in the comment section. I know after all of the things that I said in this video, y'all are probably going to want to say something about it. Like, if you got to tell me off, girl, tell me off. Like, tell me, why did I make that decision? I don't know. What was wrong with me? I don't know. But tell me what y'all got to say. What's on your minds? I really do appreciate y'all for watching this video. Thank you so much. There is a lot more to come from me. I have a lot of content built around a lot of my mistakes that I've made and trying to help y'all with not making a lot of those same mistakes. So stay tuned, y'all. Stay tuned. I love you and thank you so much for watching.